Welcome back. As you can see, the chassis is out of the shop and time to get to work on the body. Basically what I'm doing right now is just taking off, there's still a bunch of stuff that has to be removed. The wipers, little vents, a bit of wiring. Looks like it's pretty stripped down, but there's still a lot of little things that have to come off. So I've got to do that. I won't record that. We'll just go ahead and get her done. We'll do a little walk around and I'll show you the areas that I'm most concerned about. I'm excited to get going on the body, but I'm also a little apprehensive because it's going to be a challenge. Let's have a look. Most of the body is in pretty decent shape. You know, this kind of stuff I'm not worried about at all. This is all the back end there, the trunk floor. It's all pretty solid. There's a little bit of body work to do on this the rear valance here. But I mean, that's just straightening it out. And that's just a matter of taking my time, a little hammer and dolly work, a little bit of welding. No, not a big problem. Same thing up at the front. It's all fairly solid. There's a dent to take care of up in this front corner. Again, it's not too serious. A little hammer and dolly work. I'll have to pull it out or hammer it out in here a little bit and straighten out this that front pan there. It's buckled up a little bit right through here, but again, I'm not too concerned about that. Now the sills are in pretty bad shape, which is typical for these things. You can see on the right side here, that's the worst one. I'm going to leave that one for last. This inner box beam is just about gone. See, it runs right through from the back up to the front here. I've got to make a new one of those. I do have new outer sills, but the inner sill and the box beam I have to fabricate. I'll have to repair or fabricate a new piece here. This is pretty rotten down near the bottom anyway, so I don't know if I'll save the top half or replace the whole thing. I'll worry about that when I get to it. Down on the left sill, I've got the whole car tipped up on its side at the moment. So this whole sill is in three sections, the inner sill. There's this front section, goes back to here. Then there's a piece below the door. And then there's another piece at the back that's not on the screen at the moment. This piece is pretty solid. There is one area, and it's just right up in here, that I'm going to have to cut a piece into that. But I don't think I have to replace the whole thing. I've gone over it all, and it's pretty solid. I might change my mind after I sandblast and clean it up, but I think it's pretty solid. There's not a lot of pitting, but you can tell the difference in the sound when it's hitting solid metal. When you get that dead thud, you know, if I poke that hard enough, I go right through it. There it is there. So just this corner. Basically, debris, I guess, would sit on top of this little angle gusset, and that would cause it to stay moist and rot. So just that little corner, I think. And then, okay, now the second section goes right from here to here. There's a 1-inch overlap between the two pieces up here. And same back here. They're a little more than an inch back there. It's funny, back here I can see that there's a little bit of a step up where the two pieces overlap. I'm not really seeing that up here, so I don't know if it is or it isn't. Anyway, when this body is sitting on the frame, the chassis goes right along here and up. And there's a body mount here and a body mount right there. And that is what is critical, getting that flange back in exactly the same place. And most people you talk to say, do your sill repairs before you take it off the chassis, so that the chassis is your jig. I've never been one to listen to advice, so I went ahead and pulled the body off, and I'm going to do it my way. I'm not sure what the way that is yet, but basically I'm going to have to make up a jig to make sure that this stuff goes back on in exactly the same way. This piece is going to have to be replaced. For the most part, it's pretty solid, but there's one area right in here where I was able to poke a hole through, and down near the bottom it's pretty weak. So I'm going to replace this piece. I'll have to make it up myself. I don't really have to do anything with this body mount. It can stay right where it is. There's only a little bit of this flange right up here that is rusted out. The rest of it is really solid. Below it, not so much. It's fairly solid, but there are a few places where I've been able to poke through. So I'm still trying to decide whether I take this right off and replace this in its entirety, or if I cut it and weld the new piece. That's the route I was going to go. Until I found a couple of soft spots up close to the top. But I still might. It's pretty solid. It's just I'd have to leave just enough to give me something to weld to. I don't know. I'm still thinking about that one. The rear section. Where are we here? Yeah. Okay, the rear section comes up to here, and it's pretty rotten. And underneath this body mount, where it's double thickness of material, it's kind of it's rusted out too. So I have to at least cut that out. If I take that body mount out, I have to get it back in exactly the same place. So I'm not sure if I'm going to try and make up some kind of a jig to locate it and then replace that whole piece. Or I could, again, come across, up here somewhere, up like this, and across, and go straight out to here. And then I might have to fill in a little bit on the other side, because I'd have to be able to clean up all the rust underneath that body mount. Once again, I'm thinking on that one yet, but I'm probably going to go ahead and start making up some of my panels, getting them ready to go. And then I'll make a final decision whether I cut them down and try and weld underneath or if I remove that. I really would like to keep this in place, even if I just have to weld a piece in at this end. Anyway, that's where I'm at. Well, I think I have a plan. Basically, what I'm going to do is, the first thing I'm going to do is flange here. Just needs a little piece at the end. And I want to leave this. I'm going to take everything else away, but I want to leave this. So I've got to make up my pieces. And before I start cutting everything away. And that's what I'm working on right now. But anyway, once I get that welded up, then I'll go to the other side and I'll cut everything away from the other side. This piece here, it's got to be 1 inch longer. So now I'm using my old school compass and a drafting compass. And I'm going to just go along here. Oops. My stack of magnets is in the way. And that gives me a pretty accurate line. Now, this should be pretty darn close to following the line on the other side. Now I got to go off and make my cardboard template. And the total that I've got to add down here, well, let's see, up here, two and a quarter would move it up to there. I got to go at least 3 inches that I have to add on here. Okay, now from my template that I made, basically just cut it out with scissors, added my inch to the end of it. I need 2 of them, so left hand, right hand. They're both identical until I do the little jog in it. Then there becomes a left and a right. Now, I was able to save a little bit of sheet metal because at the end of these pieces there's a notch out of it. So I was able to nest them just a little bit closer, taking advantage of the notch. What I have done, or I'm doing here, is trying to put the offset in it. So I've put a piece of, I'm not sure if that's 16 or 14 gauge. I think it's probably 14 gauge I put underneath here. I'm expecting some spring back. So to get an offset of one material thickness, I think I've got to go past that thickness, but I don't know. I guess we'll find out. So I've got it clamped down. I've got this other piece underneath it, and I'm going to use a wide chisel, and I'm going to go along there and just hammer that down, and then I'll take a body hammer and just make sure I'm still flat. I don't know if I need this big a hammer to do this, but this isn't something I've done before. This is an experiment. You can see the offset that I achieved there. That worked very well. Take my other piece here and lay it on top. And that is actually, I'm going to call it perfect. I think that's enough offset. I'll call it a success. So now I have to do the same thing to the other piece, only I've got to make sure I do it opposite. So I've got a left hand and a right hand. So I won't record the second one. Now, from my template, I cut out my steel piece. I got all this set up, and I should have set my camera up earlier, but now what I've done is I've got a top and a bottom piece in wood, a pattern, and that's what I'm going to use to bend that flange. At least I hope that's what's going to happen. So I'm just going to go along gently and start my bend and just I don't really have one with enough of a curve to fit in there nicely, but part of my problem is that clamps in the way a little bit. And there it is. Okay, now I've got the two back pieces fabricated and ready to go. So the next thing is okay, I think I got you on the screen. I've taken 3 pieces of just some little scrap plywood I had, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put some hot melt glue down, kind of like that, and that'll make a template for relocating this. So I'm going to cut that right out and make up a new one. I'm going to use the old one for a template. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut just down along the back side, so I won't actually touch the bend, that edge, or at least I hope I won't. And yeah, and then I should be able to just trace that to get my new piece. That's the theory. Let's see if it'll work. Okay, so I cut this piece out. What I did is I just cut along it this way, so that all I was left with was that little bit of a strip there. And that was fairly easy to get off. I went in between the spot welds and just weakened it a little bit, got underneath with my wood chisel, got them lifted up, and then just wiggled them off with the vice grips, so that all I'm left with now is the actual welds, just the little spot welds. So I'll have to come back and grind those. I'll have to clean that all up and get it ready for welding. And then the piece I took off will work as my template for making the its replacement piece. So we'll come over to the bench. And you can see I've already traced it out. I've got my layout on the sheet metal. So I'm going to cut that out, and then I'm going to make up a wooden pattern again and bend the flange. So that'll be my next job. Doing this one a little differently. I'm going to try doing it in the vise instead of on the anvil. Yeah, I'll just have to go along a little bit at a time. Definitely needs a little bit of smartening up there. Pretty much precisely what I built this train track anvil, and why I put the curve in it that I did, so I can always find a piece of piece of it that's the right profile for what I'm trying to hammer on. Okay, I've got this piece looking fairly good. If I put the two of them together, the old piece and the new one, my lines are pretty good. I don't know if I got that on screen. I am a little bit long. I think my bend was back here a bit. So I think my fix for that, rather than trying to rebend all of this, is to do a cut through there, get the first piece installed, and then cut the other smaller piece down to fit it and just re-weld. That should work. Now we'll just come back over to the car. So my front piece, I've got my jig made up. The front piece is made up. Like I say, it's a little bit too long. When I cut that down, it'll be able to come down a little bit further, and that'll allow it to fit at the top better than it does at the moment, but it's going to work. I still have to clean all that up. I think I'm going to sandblast this whole section before I start actually doing the welding. And the other two pieces are pretty much ready to go. This one here, I'll have to cut away, and I'll have to take the rest of the sill away completely in order for this to tuck underneath. So it's actually going to go right up to there, right up to the flush with the top. But that looks like it's going to work perfectly. And then the back piece, once again, I'll have to line it all up, and when I make my cut, this will tuck underneath. It'll go a little better than halfway up that body mount. And then after I get everything else welded together, then I'll clean up on the other side and fill in a little bit behind that. So that is where I'm going to wrap this up. That's most of the fabrication for the inner sill. I have the main box beam that I still have to build, and that's going to be the next video because that's going to be a real challenge. I've got a 30-inch long brake, and the box beam is 53 roughly. So I'm going to lay it all out, and then I'm going to cut it in half, bend the two pieces individually, and then weld it back together again. So we'll see if that's even going to work. But if you like and subscribe and come on back and see how I make out fabricating the box beam. But thanks for watching, and see you on the next one.